Great. Um, there's Thank you, Yanesi, and thank you, Luis, for making this possible. Um, so today, the Androgynous organization. How can we find some more harmony between directive leadership and collaborative governance? That's really the aim of this project. Because basically, whatever you do, actually both are always present. So either you deny it and it can create some trouble, either actually you face it and you start to play with it. So uh, basically, the two main models, and that's actually the most recent slide. So it's not perfect yet, but there's clearly two different tendencies. One which is hierarchical, the other one which is collaborative and potentially anti-hierarchical, um, and that sometimes are being opposed. One is very good at scaling, but in terms of alignment and negative externalities, is not so good. And the other one is good into maybe alignment and local impact, but in terms of scaling, it's difficult. So life serving with small impacts, while the more hierarchical models have a large impact but in the wrong direction, and with negative externalities, while the more collaborative um, organization tend to have what I call negative internalities. So this is, yeah, what we could name as like toxic power games and this kind of stuff. We're going to see in more details. So the intention of this project is really to look at how we can reconcile growth with meaning and scale with alignment. That's really the deeper quest here. Um, yeah. So basically, I've been exploring and working, founding different kind of organizations in the last 10 years. Actually, the very beginning was the Himalayan Farm Project, a permaculture farm of a friend in India, I mean, more than 10 years ago now. And yeah, I worked with many different collectives engaged into the Yellow Vest movement, the Extension Rebellion. I worked with Open Collective on as a consultant on different levels. I spent 6 months in Plum Village. I almost became a monk. I worked on holacracy and on multinational organizations. Manifesto is men's work. Next Sense is the first student movement on the economic transition that I started in Belgium. And yeah, Moss, Life Itself, and Refi DAO, Impact Zone, Regions Unite. I mean, Refi DAO is very recent, but basically in Portugal, I kind of worked with Monty and John a bit, and the source transfer that happened. Anyway, it's very broad and it goes in multiple direction. And all that this exploration was like, how can we explore alternative models to the centralized hierarchical traditional perspective? And so the thing is that I started to see patterns repeating again and again in all these collectives. Like, of course, there was like some positive aspect of these collaborative models, which are like more flexible, more agile, more innovative, more collaborative. I mean, facilitating collaborative workflow. But there's also some blind spots that I've been seeing again and again. Uh, Here, yeah. So here you have, for me, also in kind of order of priority, the main blind spots that I've been encountering. Shadow hierarchy being the number one. So it's like the denial of like hierarchy um and the illusion of a horizontality, basically. That's something that has affected and is still affecting many collectives today. Um, so yeah, unclear responsibility, the roles, the boundaries not being clear, avoiding conflict, hard to take a decision because if everyone decides, where do we go? Like implicit communication and expectations, a lack of like efficient feedback loops, yeah, toxic power games, passive aggressiveness, lack of trust and care. So this is kind of paradoxical because within actually this organization that want to promote a kind of culture of care, you often have um, a lot of care in the beginning, but then because there is difficulty to protect and to set a clear container around the organization, it slowly start to decrease. Um, so yeah, I'm more conscious than you, hierarchies of level of consciousness, the tyranny of structurelessness. So all these things are actually not new. In the 60s already, someone wrote about all of that, maybe in a different way. But yeah, the ideology of decentralization, like how we see centralization as bad, and yeah, unclear boundaries. Don't hesitate to tell me if I go too fast because I'm like. So, well, that's more of the consulting approach I developed to help organization identify which blind spot affect them the most, and how they can yeah, unlock their potential by working on these elements. That's a tool that we've been working on, that basically measures value practice alignment, and track this across time in order to identify weak signals before it, it snowballs into something that is unmanageable and potentially threatening for the organization. Um, yeah, this is still an MVP. We're looking, yeah, for people interested to support us in this, but it's not there yet. But yeah, I think there's potential. The question basically that I asked myself at this point, because that's a bit what I was doing a year and a half, a year ago, year and a half ago, is like alignment, yes, but towards which direction? Okay. So this is where I was like, okay, we need a new horizon. We need a new horizon that can address these blind spots without falling back into the old ways of like leading and organizing. Something that is new. Um, and so this is where the idea of the androgynous organization arrived, and really about it's not about like taking half of the pyramid and half of the circle and bring it together. It's really about transcending those two, and going to another level, as our favorite philosopher Louis would say, the dialectics of Hegel. That's really the model that I'm using here, that I'm referencing. And also this project came out of like a 6 months course on Hegel, science of logic, and Cadell Last, the founder of Philosophy Portal, has been very supportive and helping me putting this research out. So very quickly, so take the best, leave the rest. How can we actually, yeah, develop this capacity to what I call a form of complex view? You know, when most of us are stuck because of our trauma and our nervous systems into this kind of black or white, or like good guys versus bad guys narrative, which is for me at the root of polarization, and reclaiming our capacity for complex view, which is able to identify the signal and the noise, is really important, especially in this teamwork. Because you see often and it's crazy today because again and again today I heard about it again. It's like in a lot of different projects there is this tension between actually the more like startup top down scale impact mindset, and the more like I would say regen activist, eco driven, and collaborative. And it's present in every project these days, and there's a tension that if it's not being addressed explicitly can be dangerous for the projects. Um, so that's the organization, the androgynous organization level one. Um, and so the intention here is how can we yeah, reclaim our capacity to tap into both polarities, um, in function of in function of the context, you know, because sometimes it makes sense to be decentralized, but sometimes we need to re-centralize. And being able to actually develop this what I call androgynous dance, both at individual and collective level, is really for me the skill that allows to have organization that can combine scale and alignment. But quickly going through this, how can you basically maintain clear direction while having a form of dynamic leadership? How can you so this is an important one, is that I've been working for 10 years in the field of collaborative economy, collaborative governance. And what I saw is that if you're denying the reality of competition, basically, if you're assuming that we're all Buddhas without need of power, recognition, or money, it's gonna be a mess, because we're humans, we're flawed, and we all need money, power, and recognition in some ways. And so making these explicit and actually playing with these and making the competition between us explicit, respectful, and playful, for me is a really important, shift to be able to do. And my friend Lawrence Curie Clark Gnomon, who's the originator of the regenerative Renaissance, has a big focus on play, and I think there's a lot of potential there. Um, so how can we maintain psychological safety while recognizing competence hierarchy? Because there's always a hierarchy, competence or experience, people who were there before, and um, how can you have explicit boundaries while maintaining flexibility, and how to have impact at scale while having value alignment. So how can we do this? Like, it seems almost too good to be true. Well, one model that I love to use is the quadrant of our dear friend Ken Wilber, um, who yeah who's an inspiring thinker who did a lot of good stuff, a lot of less good stuff. But for me, this this quadrant is part of the good stuff. Um, and it really helped me when I was really focused on like system change. This can be applied at societal and organizational level, by the way. And so, but focusing on the organizational level, we're like, how to change the system, the structure. Well, it's the realization that if you want to do organizational change, or actually societal change too, you first need to work on culture. Because if you start implementing decentralized structures, systems on a culture which is not ready, which is less mature, less advanced than the structures, it's gonna fail. Like, there's gonna be like this gap, and it's not gonna work. So you need to start at the cultural level, which is more about the values, the narrative, the behaviors that we collectively enact, the stories that we share, the relationships, how we communicate, and uh, and so I was, how can we actually influence culture? That's really a big question that a lot of people are asking themselves. And obviously, working on mindsets and behavior is one way to do so. And that's why my approach to organizational change is really about looking at the founder's role, and especially the shadow of the founder. Because as Jerry Colonna, like a VC from Silicon Valley, says, the culture of an organization grows in the shadow of its founder. So this is really where I like to work the most, because this is where you have the most return on investment or leverage to change a culture and change the whole organization. So um, and so the intention here is like how to help leaders to develop this androgynous dance, to both step in or step back in the right way and at the right time and in the right context. We all seen a leader that step in at the wrong moment, and doesn't step back when he should have, or she should have. And so it requires like a fine tuning that, for me, I connect a lot with the yin and the yang energies. And so, in order for you to actually identify on which polarity maybe you need to work more, because I think we all have I mean, some people are balanced, but we definitely have, there's easily a misbalance. Like for me, it was very easy to step back, and hard to step in an explicit way. And this is what you see a lot of people actually doing it, stepping in, but implicitly. And now, we're going to talk about that. So, a way to look at that is to identify your relationship with anger or sadness. If it's easier for you to express anger in your work, with your team, then it means that it's easier for you to actually step in and to lead. And if it's easier for you to express sadness, then it means that it's easier for you to follow and to step back. and so you might want to have a look at the other modus, and yeah, we might talk about it, but it's also connected. If we go really at the root of the root of the root of, it's connected to your relationship with mommy and daddy, basically. But I'm not going to expand too much on that, even though it's essential. So level two is really about kick and the pendulum. So we're moving from 2D to 3D. I mean 3D, from two polarities, yin and yang, to actually four polarities. Ta-da! So this is basically, yeah, the essence of the model is to look at, actually there might be two different feminine and there might be two different masculine. I know these words can be triggering for some people, but I hope that uh, by introducing this nuance between the feminine yin, the feminine yang, the masculine yin and the masculine yang, it can yeah, bring some clarity. um, these four polarities, they connect with um, different yeah, vibe. The feminine yang is more about the creative chaos. That's really the life force energy. If you see like the way, the direction it goes, it's really like, here it's like the source, the vision is being channeled by someone. There is a containment of this life force energy to give some direction to it. Then we manifest it, and then it's the closing of the cycle, the celebration, the unification, the interdependence, the care. And each of these four polarities actually connect with four archetypes we're going to see later. So the shaman, here's the king or the queen,
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I was checking my. Hopefully he's back soon. Mm. Hello, Chim.
okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, that was on my side. I have like the shittiest connection ever. I need to take care of this. Um,
It is okay.
Eunice, do you? What about the recording?
All
Is
good.
that
I
all
record
good? Okay.
everything, even this. It is okay. Don't worry.
Okay, that's
But I think you were talking about the feminine, the chaos and the care and how those things
yeah.
interconnect.
How it goes together.
Yeah.
Um, so back on the screen. So basically, what I wanted to say is that for me as a leader, there's like two dance that you need to master. And the first one is the one on the left side. It's the yin yang dance in both contexts, and it's really about like, when do we actually develop the people, listen, take care of the team, and when do we get shit done and we manifest the vision, and knowing when to do those two is really important, because if you do just one, well, you don't get shit done, you don't manifest anything. And if you do this, well, you manifest things, but it's a mess. You might manifest the wrong things. um and so that's the first dance, yin yang. And the other one is here. It's really like traditionally it's really the priest and the king. This association throughout times has been like very important. And knowing when do you retreat and connect to your source, do your inner work, and really channel like the vision, and when do you actually like not materialize, or actually materialize in reality, in the sense that you need to separate. You can't realize the whole of your vision. You need to choose, and you need to exclude. And often it means also excluding potentially people and projects which are not aligned with your vision. And so this dance between connecting to your source and setting clear boundaries and setting the direction is also one that is quite important. So the androgynous organization, it's basically organization that have the capacity to be both like radically innovative, that have a clear structure, meaning clear boundaries, clear responsibilities, and clear direction. Um, have an impact at scale, and actually can scale and go beyond the local level, and have a collaborative culture and a culture of care, psychological safety, collective intelligence, you name it. So yeah, that's basically the androgynous organization model. Creative purpose in service of life. As I said, natural hierarchy, clear, because basically hierarchy is always there. So either you make it explicit and you actually make it a strength, either you repress it and it's going to hack your organization and in some very, very bad way. So actually, how to move from like domination hierarchy to a natural form of hierarchy, which means recognizing the chronology of the organization, because hierarchy comes from the Greek hieros archos, which means sacred order. So there's some wisdom into actually looking at the chronology, and that potentially the people that were before knows more stuff or different stuff than the people that came afterwards. Um, you can also know a lot of stuff when you arrive, when you're new in an organization, but that's something else. Um, Impact at scale, well, in the Web3 space, we know this is like, yeah, using high technology and being competitive, efficient, and the culture of care. We talked about that already. So these are, I try to kind of map the different cultures that these four polarities connect with. So the tribal, which is more connected to like the indigenous times, animistic. Um, the hierarchy, which is more like pre-modern times. It's like institutions and organization that stood out. I mean, they stayed alive for centuries. It's like this capacity for stability and longevity. And the market, this is the last 3 centuries, industrial times, it's more startup mindset, and the eco is more of the postmodern and well, taking care of people and the earth. And the intuition is actually all those four dimensions have good stuff, and they also have bad stuff. So if we can take the best and leave the rest of all those four, well, we can have killer organizations. I mean, killer. I don't know if it's a good term here, but you know what I mean. Um, so some examples of organizations that actually represent a bit of these four polarities. Yeah, the arm. So Burning Man, Mystics, Bauhaus. So this is more like the art and spiritual. Here is more the institutional. And here, well, it's more of the startup and the corporate. And here is the hippies and the regents, us. So that's basically the slide. T-Rex who helped me in at TDF during the Refi DAO week to add those, to give some more Web3 flavors to this map. Yeah. So again, how do we move from collective to uh, the individual dimension? That's the bridge. It's the shadow of the founder, or the unconscious, or well, it's trauma and these kind of things. So in order to manifest an androgynous organization, we need androgynous leadership, which means someone that can has those four polarities: vision, order, action, and care, and has the capacity to use the right one in the right context. Again, this notion of like emotional agility and androgynous dance. Um, and so this is a slide inspired by source work and the work of Peter Koenig, that basically, yeah, describes the main role of a leader. And as we said before, connecting to your vision and sourcing the next steps is an important one. Creating some order by setting some clear boundaries and giving like a direction. Action, manifesting the vision, and care, develop the people, and listening to the people, because obviously if you're that's more of the, I would say that S3 sociocracy 3.0, it's there. This is source work for me, and this is more, I would say, where the masculine and feminine, or like almost a tantric realm plays is at play. But basically what's important is that to set a clear direction as a leader, you need to be able to listen to the people, because it's most of the time the source is unclear. And if the source doesn't have the capacity to listen and to actually get the information from the team and from the people who are closer maybe to the clients and or the users, well, it's not gonna they're not gonna give the right direction. But the thing is that it's really an energetical process, in the sense that when the source is clear and gives a direction, it's like everyone can feel it, that's the way, and the source feels it also in its own body. So I like to play with archetypes to actually work on these four dimensions. And as I said, the shaman, the king, the queen, the warrior, and the lover. So the shaman is really about, yeah, intuition, the king, the queen, grounding and direction, the warrior, action and courage, and the lover, care, empathy, and connection. Uh, so these are sub archetypes. So basically, once you have identified which is your most integrated archetype and the least one, you can go like one level of precision deeper, and identify like what are the sub archetypes on which you need to work. For me recently, actually, I think I've evolved, but I had an issue with the warrior, and the mercenary and the disciplinary were difficult ones. The mercenary is having the capacity to do emotional detachment. Sometimes you need to detach from your emotion. You can't be like a slave of them, and you need this, and that's the capacity of the mercenary. Well, the disciplinary, I think we all know what it is. So what was interesting during the Refi Dao week is that we saw a lot of people that were shamans as the most integrated archetype, and a lot of people who had the king or the queen as the least integrated. And that's really something that we can see in the Web3 space. Let me come back to, yeah, is that actually there's a high resistance on this level, because this is connected to patriarchy. This is for me is the father wound, and this is why a lot of my work is about men's work and working on reinventing masculinity, because we definitely need some kind of order and clear direction. Otherwise, the project that we create are not going to have the impact that the times we live in require. So, pum pum pum. Yeah. So basically, the key emotion of these four archetypes, the shaman is to really connecting the invisible and the visible, and dare to step into the unknown, and mastering your fear. The lover, or maybe more mother archetype, is is the sadness, is the vulnerability, is being able to connect, and have the courage to express the sadness. The warrior is about the anger, setting clear boundaries. So the king draws the boundaries, but it's the warrior that sets them. It's the warrior that goes at the borders of the kingdom to actually protect it, while the king stays in his palais, or I don't know where. Um, yeah, it's funny because I was talking with James Priest from S3 Sociocracy 3.0. I presented him the model, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd rather be on the battlefield than sitting on my throne like a lazy king." And yeah, so, but the interesting part, and actually what I told him, is that the king is a mix of all of the three. For me, the king is the most important, or the queen are the most important archetypes, because it's a mix of all of three. So basically, if you manage to go through your fear, sadness, and your anger, then you access the treasure of joy. So
You open the
Yeah,
door.
we could go through. What did you say?
You open the door to the next
Yeah,
stage.
exactly. The magic door
But I mean,
to.
I don't know if you want to go deep in the idea, but that really captured my attention. Like, okay, so I then master these three areas in order to unlock the fourth one? Is that something you consider that it is like that for sure, or
It's a very
could
good
be
question.
exceptions?
Um, so I can't tell you 100% sure from my experience. What I saw is that I was obsessed with the king archetype for quite a while, till I realized that a king never you don't become a king. You're a warrior before becoming a king, and I kind of missed this step. And to be honest, in my life I've always been quite good with these two. And it's the anger, repressing anger, that was more of a challenge, and actually like getting shit done and being more focused. And the last months I've been developing this, and I think that naturally actually this one emerges, because the king and the queen for me is a lot about grounding, because the grounding can help you to actually gain clarity, being more clear, and they also give you the capacity to hold, to contain, to have to put a container around this chaotic and creative life force energy. And so yeah, for me the grounding is, if there's one thing that is really typical to the king queen, I would say it's grounding. But again, I think that being able to cry and to set your boundaries and to go beyond your fear are a part of this grounding. Yeah, I mean, we could go through a little exercise, but I'm not sure it's relevant. Here are like the four different archetypes. You might want to check which one you resonate the most with, and which one you feel more distant, because it can give you some clues on like maybe where you want to develop your leadership, in which direction it would make most sense. This we did. So yeah, when we do like the workshop, as Luis did in Portugal, we had like different groups of people in the four corners of the room, and yeah, it's pretty fun. And basically, there's a 2-hour workshop that is connected to this theory, which is about delving into the practice and really going into like embodied practices to connect and develop these archetypes. So yeah, that's the alignment project. The Androgynous organization is a research project from the Alignment Project, which is my consulting company, and where we focus on developing and designing realignment tools, practices, and rituals for high trust cultures. Well, the presentation is a bit long. Maybe we can stop here. But yeah, these are different dimension of the alignment project. That's the strategy for 2024. Maybe what could be interesting for you guys is that we're gonna launch some online men's work and women's work container for DAO founders. And in Brussels, EFCC is coming to in July. EFCC is coming to Brussels, and so we're working. Regen's Unite is going to happen before, and we're working on a men's work retreat that's going to happen after. If some women manifest to take the lead on the women part, we may do some interesting exploration here, but we don't want to force it. And well, we all know that it's also like there's a lot of men in Web3, and yeah, hopefully next year we'll be able to do kind of a mixer. Well, this
You
is
can share the
yeah.
invitation. Many are called, few the ones that join, but potentially, let's see.
Okay. Yes. Well, with pleasure. So yeah, the alignment project. You can check the websites or my Twitter handle at DiscoPunk. I also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to. Where is this? Okay. I think I am done, guys. Thank you so much for your attention.
So amazing for the presentation, even though I already got to experience it in the refi week of the TDF. It's always like amazing to see it again. Also, like seeing it for the second time, I'm noticing that I'm kind of like thinking and like some points caught my attention that are kind of like different to the points that caught my attention the first time.
Nice.
So that's quite interesting. I mean, for
Which
instance, like
ones?
quite hmm?
Which ones? I'm curious.
Like on the quadrants, like with the yin and yang and the masculine and feminine. Um, I started kind of looking more towards the relationship between each of them. Like you were mentioning some of them. Um, I found quite interesting, like how kind of noticeable it is. Adding kind of like having the polarities of yin and yang, and then also the masculine and the feminine, and then having basically the organizational kind of like the way that it works somehow. So we have like the hierarchy and the market, I believe, that are like the masculine ones.
Yeah.
And then you have the echo and the tribal one that are the feminine ones. And I think it's quite easy to see kind of like what focus and kind of like direction societal like organization has been having like for the past centuries,
Yeah.
and it shows kind of like highlight some kind of like disconnect with the feminine possibly, and like how to bring that at a an organizational level. So that was quite
Mm,
interesting.
cool.
And
Yeah, I think.
also another, yeah, just another one, it was kind of like, to me, I kind of started seeing like how if you have like the having the four quadrants, how the one in the opposite direction kind of enables that one. So for instance, if you want to have order and you want to like um yeah, have a clear like direction of what to do and so on, you need to do it with care, like so that it's kind of like receptive and
Yeah,
yeah, that it can work, and also like the other way around. So yeah,
exactly.
pretty cool.
I love the way you put it. It's a good. Indeed, it's kind of like it, almost like in each quadrant. There are the four are present in each ones. You know. So yeah, it's really the dance and knowing when to use and how to combine them. Yeah, thank you for this, man. And I think the slide you were talking about is actually the slide that I fucked up at TDF. Like I don't know if you remember, I said, oh, I showed a slide and I was like, oh,
Mm,
that's the wrong slide. And so this presentation you had the right one, so maybe that's also why you you
nice one.
realized. Yeah. How about you, Eunice? How did you find the presentation?
Very interesting. It is a analytic way of perceiving the best, and let's say the best because that depends on the eye of who is looking at. But the best things to consider, especially in leadership, and to yeah, to build a good product, as you said, taking the best and leaving behind what is not working. And well, I really resonate with what's the quadrant, the sad one. I resonated with that one because
The
basically
lover.
it's that the lover. Yeah, because basically it's that I'm all emotions. I mean, I'm from the Caribbean. I'm Caribbean. I'm all emotions. But yeah, I have been like unlocked some of the characteristics you express because I want to actually achieve some personal goals, and I resonate the archetypes you
Nice.
provided. Yes, like, oh, I need this. Oh, I should work on that. I should. And then you said about the to unlock the queen king. It is necessary to have like this yeah, holistic view of the first three quadrants, and of course that makes sense. And I was like, yeah, I'm savvy, but not savvy enough. I need more. Yeah, yeah. I took it. I took everything from the individual point of view. I need to exercise all the what we uh, explored today in the organizational point of view, so I can brainstorm with the trusted team about it. But thanks.
Nice. Well, if you this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Like that's a research I'm going to publish in a book at the end of the January, and I actually want to write a book if I find funding to actually spend more time on this. There is so much, you know. It's and yeah, it's just a very rich area of exploration, and I want to make this as collective as possible. And so if you guys interested are interested to play with this model, well, this was definitely it's a research action project. So if you want to test some of this or like yeah play around, I'm definitely happy to have a chat about it. Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
No,
That
thank
was
you.
cool.
Yay. Thanks.
That was
Yeah.
how